Today, I am going to make basil pesto. Pack in my leaves. You're gonna want a hard cheese. Big handful, my nuts. That's how you pesto. Hey baby, do you have a nut?
I got 2 of them.
All right, well, today I've got to harvest some basil because it is starting to flower. Once it starts to flower, it's starting to over mature and your leaves aren't going to taste as good. They're going to start to taste a little bit bitter. I have not eaten enough basil, clearly, so we've got to pick. The flowers show up looking like this, and to stop them from getting too mature, I just pull off the flowers whenever I am here because those will just start growing really long. And what happens is the plant is actually putting energy into creating these big flowers when you really want the energy going into the leaves. So that's why I pull them off. I don't really know how much of a difference it makes, but that's what I was taught. So today I am going to make a whole big batch of basil pesto. That is really, for me, something that I think will be sustainable because I'm going to jar it and freeze it and teach you a very basic recipe pretty much anybody can do from home. Now, we are organic here, so I don't have pesticides to worry about, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to wash all of these beautiful leaves when we get back into the house. Sometimes you get like a little bug. See, my basket's getting pretty full. I know that looks like a lot, but with pesto, once you start blending it, it all kind of grinds down into a lot smaller volumes. So this is still not enough. So when I'm done with this plant, I'm going to move on to the other side of the garden where I have more plants, and we are going to have this overflowing by the time I'm finished. Okay, so I have brought in my beautiful haul of basil and I made sure to wash it pretty well, looking for any little bugs, any little gnats or anything that might have come from our organic garden. I feel that it is pretty well washed. I have here Parmesan cheese, pecans, olive oil. I also have salt and pepper and garlic cloves. So a lot of people generally, when they make or eat basil pesto, they associate that with pine nuts. Pine nuts are very expensive. I'm using pecans because pecans are local to North Carolina. They grow crazy this time of year and you can get them at the farmer's market, you can get them at the grocery store. They're also reasonably priced here. They might be a little bit more expensive wherever you live. But the cool thing about pesto is you really just need a nut. You don't want to use a salted nut because that's going to add extra salt to your pesto and it might end up being really salty. I've used cashews, I've used almonds, I've used walnuts. As long as you have a nut. Hey baby,
Yes, my sweetheart.
do you have a nut?
I got 2 of them.
Perfect. So as long as you've got a nut of some kind in your pantry
I got 2 of them.
that doesn't have salt on it, you can use it to make pesto. I use Parmesan cheese. Generally, you're gonna want a hard cheese. We're making basil pesto. You can make pesto with most herbs. You can make a parsley pesto. You could probably make a cilantro pesto. So as long as you have your herb, your nut,
I got 2 of them.
your cheese, your oil, and your garlic, you've got pesto. I just got this food processor. I'm like really testing it out here to see just how much I can jam in here. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting my basil in. Now, this may end up having to be more than one batch. Starting to feel that way. I'm basically gonna pack in my leaves until there's not really a whole lot of give anymore. This is definitely gonna be a 2-batcher, and that's okay. We picked a lot today, and there's still a lot out there, which is great. That means we'll be making more pesto in the future. Part of our business plan ultimately is to jar up, can up, prepare some of our favorite recipes, and be able to sell them and share them at the farmer's market. Now, I'm not sure about pesto because the best way to preserve pesto is to freeze it. So if we were gonna be selling it at the farmer's market, we'd have to bring it in coolers and sell them frozen, which might be a little bit complicated, but definitely other foods and things. Maybe we'll just bring some pesto and let people try it and just tell them, you know, hey, refrigerate it as soon as you get home and you've got like 3 days to eat it. Anyway, okay, so we are Lavender Goat Farm and we are making food and maybe you'll be eating our food at some point soon. I've stuffed this pretty tight and at this point I'm gonna go ahead and add my cheese. Now, I've been making pesto for a long time, so I kind of eyeball it. This was like a grocery store bag of Parmesan cheese. I'm using more than half of it. And then my nuts.
I got 2.
Again, like kind of just like a big handful, right? Look how pretty that looks. Now, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and put some peppercorns right in there, and those are gonna grind up. Just gonna have a really nice peppery flavor. I'm also gonna go ahead and sprinkle pretty well with kosher salt. You can use sea salt, which is going to be saltier, so you're gonna wanna use less. I know that looks like a lot, but we're blending it with oil, and those leaves need that salt. And then for this batch here, I'm gonna start with 3 cloves. They're reasonably sized. Remember, you're working with raw garlic here. You're not cooking your garlic. This is raw garlic going straight into your pesto. I have accidentally over garlicked pesto before, which I am fine with because I love garlic, but whew, I mean, it was like for days breathing out garlic. So because you're working with raw garlic, you don't actually need too much. A little goes a long way. And then the all important olive oil over the top. What I have in here was about 1 1/4 cups, and I'm pretty much gonna be using all of that. So let's just say 1 1/4 cups in a batch this big. All right, it smells divine. This is a new food processor that I just got, so let's see what happens. Okay, now I'm actually just gonna take this off and take a look here. And I see that some of the leaves haven't gotten blended. Look at that. That is beautiful. I would say that ratio of nut and cheese looks pretty good. I also think that this consistency works really well. That's a nice chunky pesto. Now, when you're serving pesto, if you were gonna serve it with some nice crusty bread to dip into, I might take a few spoons of this nice thick pesto and actually drizzle a little olive oil over it so that people can dip it in. But this is a nice firm pesto. I'm gonna give it another blend, pretty much where I want it to be, but I wanna make sure it gets those last couple of basil leaves. One more time. Okay, now I don't want to overblend it, so I think that works beautifully. That looks great. Now I have to do a taste test because salt for me is usually the thing. It's hard to get it right, and it's also to your taste. So I like my pesto salty, and sometimes depending on what cheese you're buying from the grocery store, some Parmesans are saltier than others. Not all cheeses are created equal. So, wow, I think we're good. Yeah, pretty darn good. Baby, you want to try it?
Oh, hell yeah. Coming in half.
Don't you look handsome? All right.
Don't you look beautiful too? Oh my god, baby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that basil is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible.
That's how you make pesto. Very easy. We're gonna have pesto for a while.
Yeah, we are.
Looking forward to it.
Ooh, I'm happy about it. Teddy's happy about it too.
That's how you pesto. So now I'm gonna try not to make a huge mess. Putting it into these small mason jars. See how this goes. Plop, plop, plop. Perfect right there. The reason I'm not using really, really big mason jars is because it's a very potent, flavorful thing. You don't really eat a giant amount of it. You know, like I said, you might mix it with some olive oil and put it over pasta, put it on bread or something. In most of my pesto recipes, I'm not really using much more than that, even for a whole recipe of pasta with sauce. Pesto is really, really potent. That's kind of the magic of it. It's like a condensed herb and garlic slice of heaven. I think this will make 4. All that basil really shrinks down when you puree it. I've got 4 lovely jars of pesto, and I am gonna close those up. Now, don't be afraid if you start to see your pesto turn brown. These jars are likely going to turn brown because that's what basil does. And actually, it's just in the time that we've been working with it, it's already turned a little bit brown. The leaves, as soon as they're dented and touched, they just turn brown really, really quickly. That doesn't mean that your pesto is bad. It's still gonna taste exactly the same. The color is just not gonna stay super preserved. Now, I've never frozen pesto before. This is my first time freezing it. Usually I just make a batch when I'm about to eat it for a meal. I'm curious if the green will preserve a little bit in the freezer, but there's really no way to know until we do it. So these are going in the freezer, and we're gonna have pesto for a few different meals coming up soon. Enjoy!